Hi everybody, Jo here. You know what that means. Grab yourself a brew, cheeky snack if you fancy one, and it's time to have a bit of a crafty catch up. And today we're going to make something a little bit different. Quite a plain card. I say plain as in we've not got too many different techniques to it, but sometimes I think we can almost overthink things. And recently I've had quite a lot of comments, which is lovely, and some emails from crafters saying they love the way that, especially when they're learning, because we have got so many new crafters, which is lovely. And I think what's special about a design like this is you can add as much or as little to it as you feel comfortable with. So it's just some very simple stamping, stencil work in the background, and I've done a little bit of decoupaging. But again, if you don't want to do that bit, you don't have to. You could even leave the stenciling off and just have more white space. So I think it's nice to share designs that, I hate saying for all abilities because it almost sounds like, but I think, you know, when we try a new technique, we're all beginners. And, you know, I get quite frustrated when, you know, some people say, oh, I've been crafting 20 years. Well, to be fair, you could have been just doing the same technique for 20 years and not learnt anything. But also, by the same token, you could have a new crafter that's just started off, very enthusiastic, and has learnt hundreds of techniques in a couple of months. So really, it's like when I teach my workshops, I never class them as beginners, intermediate. They're always just for crafters, because for me, as I say, as crafters, we all have all abilities. You know, we're newbies at some things, but also I think it depends on the day. You know, some days I might want to spend hours creating, other days I might want something a little bit more simpler. Or as you know in my life, some days I need a very quick card. So this is one of those cards that you can take to whatever level you would like. And if you just want to actually spend 20 minutes crafting at your leisure with me, this is an ideal card. So that's a little bit about what and why. Now I'm using a DL card, double length or slimline, just because I love the way these look, very elegant. And so the piece of my topper is... now it's in centimetres, 9 by 19, but I know we like it in inches too. So it's 3.5 inches wide, and see what it converts. Oh, 7.5. So 7.5 by 3.5. I'm going to put that to one side. Now the stamp set I'm going to use is from Aall Create, and it's number 269. Flourish, and it's by Bipasha. Now, what I wanted to do with this, I like to challenge myself every so often. It's just, I think sometimes almost when you're in your craft room, sometimes it's nice to challenge yourself and maybe go and look at your stamps and look for a stamp set like this. Now, to me, this main one, I've seen this stamp set used a lot of times. But obviously the bird, it could be a robin, it could be Christmas cards, and that's how I've seen it used. But often you have these smaller stamps which tend to be forgotten. Now, I've got to be honest, I adore this one here with the little acorns and the leaves. Now, I think for autumn or for a man's card, do you know what, that's perfect. And you wouldn't need much more. I think that would look beautiful just in monochromatic. So the one I've gone for today is this one here. And as I say, sometimes I think these, now I'm not sure if that's a Genko leaf. I remember years ago Barbara Gray had a Genko tree, and I'm not, that just reminds me of the leaf, but I may be wrong. That's what comes to mind when I see it. But anyway, I just love this beautiful little stamp. And that's what we're going to use, just that one stamp. So I'm going to start by getting my stamp pad. Oh dear. And I'm going to try and look for a piece of clean copy of paper. It's always nice if we have a clean piece of copy of paper, isn't it? But I have to say, for me, oh, there we go. It's not often. And I don't know about you, but I don't like throwing them away. I try and use them as many times as I can. So I've got my stamp on my Aall Create block. And I'm going to work down my stamp. My design. Now this has got some writing on the script, so I need to be careful. when I had the idea in mind, I wanted to do along the edge card. And quite often when I do along the edge cards, we have got a tutorial on one a while ago we did with Lavinia stamps. For some reason, I tend to use this edge. I don't know why, I always go for this edge. But with this stamp having the writing on this way, it actually made me go for this edge. And hence, if I bring the finished design in, we're coming in this way. But again, that was good because it's nice for a change. So I'm going to use my black VersaFine Clair. And again, lots of light tapping. And I'm just going to put my first impression here because I want this to be quite, almost a bit like a banner at that distance. I think that looks nice. Quite often if I'm doing a DL, my sentiment would go there. So my theory is if I make this my banner piece, then I've got a nice space for my sentiment. And then I can work my way up and my way down. If you start, say, at the top, sometimes you can get your placings a little bit wrong. So that's why I tend to start either in the middle or here for me where my eye will focus. And again, remember, the blocks are flexible. So I'm just going to work my way now. Nice light tapping and work my way up. Now, I don't want this one to come across as much. And again, so I could have this. No, I don't like that. I want that just a bit less. But I don't want to go less there. I think that would look almost too uniform. So let's bring the next one in a bit further. Lovely. And then we've just got room at the top for just a touch. And often it's this, that if you miss it off, it'll look like there's something missing. It'll look like it's not finished off. So we want that there. And it's important to do these little touches. And also it makes it look like it's from a bigger design, that you've almost cut a piece of backing card down. And we want a little one here again, not much. But I love this little almost circle, this little bubble just at the end. So it's nice because I can just catch that on there. Don't need any more than that. Yeah. So as always, I'm just going to give my stamp a quick wipe, because if I don't, I know I'm going to get black ink on my hands. That's just the way I work. I mean, again, everybody's different. So I'm just going to blot. Again, your VersaFine Clair, it's a slower drying ink, so it's worth giving it a blot. And me being me, I'm just going to run my heat tool over it as well, because I want to do my stencil work next. And it would be awful if this smudged. Lovely. So the stencil I've gone for is the Lots of Dots, and that's from Aall Create as well, and it's number 39. And the reason I've gone for this is I love these circles here, and I thought the dots would almost follow that. Almost keeping it, you know. I looked at all my other shapes and I thought, well, they're almost going to fight against this circle, and I want to carry on with this circle theme. And I've gone for the smaller one, the 6x6 one, because the larger, the A4, I thought the larger circles were almost too large. I was happy with this size. And the colour I'm going to use is a colour that I must admit I love, but it's one of those, I call it an unsexy colour, because it's not a colour when you're looking at your colours that you're going to go for first. You know, you might have favourite greens, blues, reds. Mine's, it's always an orange. But I have to say, pumice stone is a fantastic colour. It just looks lovely in the background, but also if you want to do almost sepia tones, just a monochromatic, but in this colour, honestly, you get such stunning effects. Great for backgrounds. I just think it is one of those colours that just don't see it used very much, and I adore it. And I'm going to use a stencil brush purely because I want my ink quite light in the background. Now, the reason I've done my stamping first, sorry, excuse me, this silly throat, do you know, sorry, just have a little drink of water. It's still not 100%, but I do know it's can take up to, well, they don't know how long, do they? Because long COVID is a new thing, isn't it? So I'm sorry, do excuse me. Right, I could have done my stenciling in the background first, but I'm just one of those, for me, I like to do my stamping first, and then I tend to do my stenciling around my stamping. So it means I can have a look and decide what circles I want where. And this is the main bit here. Sorry, excuse me. So I'm thinking, and just turn it round and have a look. Right, I'm liking that. Now, you could tape your stencil down, but again, I'm just going to hold it in place. Now, if I wanted to be particularly careful, I can go round my flowers. The fact that I can see where they are. And I'm just lightly going to brush some colour. Now, if you lift your stencil up, look at that. There's enough colour there already. So I want a little bit more up here. Now, these holes are quite small. So again, I tend to dab my stencil brush in there. And I'm just going to brush up before I finish. Brush this way, because if you remember, what happens is your ink will catch more on this bottom edge. And when you lift it up, look, your bubbles or circles will almost, if I can bring this a bit closer, can you see they've almost got a darker bit here? So it's almost done that shading for you. And I just want them light in the background, but I want you to be able to see them. Look at this, I love these little ones here. And we haven't spoilt the integrity of our flowers here. So I'm going to add some more down here. And I'm just going to turn it round and go for that, I think. And again, same thing, just going to brush. And this time I'm brushing up. Again, always use your hand as the hinge, lift up. Yes, I think that's enough on there. Then just a tiny few here. I don't want to overcook it here. So just a few of these ones. And don't worry if you get sort of half a one. It's just a background design. And again, I'm brushing towards me because that's the base of my card. Just happens I turn it round to work. I find I can work better that way. So again, I like that. I just need a little bit of something there. So we'll just, where have we got some smaller? Oh, I know there. We'll just add, just very faint, a couple there. And again, that's only in the background, but nice. We don't need any more. Right. I'm happy with that. And like I say, just such a lovely, lovely colour to have in the background. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add, you could put this on black card, but I'm just going to do that cheat of the Sharpie pen. And I'm going to do that now before I colour my flowers, just because I'm going to watercolour them and I would have to wait for it to dry. So what I've found is I tend to do my edging these days a little bit earlier than I would. When I started off, I used to do this at the end. But isn't it funny, your ways can change when you get used to how you're doing things. And we just change because, as I say, for me, I find it easy to do this now before I even concentrate on the colouring. But also what I've found is, let me just concentrate on getting that straight. Yeah. What I think is, and I just need to wipe this, otherwise I'll have black. Be amazed how much, even though it's permanent, comes off on your hands. Now, what I have found is that at this stage, if I wanted, I could leave that in black and white. I mean, I actually think that would make a lovely card as it is. Or you could focus and just colour a couple of the flowers, couldn't you? And I actually think that would look really nice. But I won't do it today because I want to show you how I've coloured the flowers. But as I say, I think that would look stunning as it is. Now, in fact, this will be a lovely one to batch card make. Now, what I'm going to do is colour my flowers. You know I love my watercolouring. Well, I say watercolouring, it's my attempts at watercolouring. And I'm just going to use a couple of oxides. But what I am going to do is, obviously it's very fine here. So what I'm going to do is, I've got some of these Wink of Stella, and they're absolutely beautiful. They're by Zig, and they're gorgeous markers. And because the Wink of Stella, they're a little bit glittery. And they even do a plain one, a clear one, which is great to go over any places you've already coloured. They do gorgeous colours as well. And what I'm going to do is, where I've got my stems here, look, I'm just going to come in. And because it's a fine area, I'm just going to add that little bit of hint of green. And then almost on these berries, I'm just almost going to do a circle, just to give that hint. I don't want to overcook the berries because I want to keep this quite, almost quite subtle. I mean, again, you know what we're like. Some days we want to do things full colour, some days, and it's nice to have a change. I think sometimes, now this one, I nearly coloured. I'm not going to colour that because we're going to decoupage this. But what I do need to do is not colour the flowers, but obviously I need to colour the stem. How many times have you coloured flowers when you've been going to decoupage them? Or is that just me? And then just to match, I've got a lighter green. And what I thought was I'll come in and just go round, just to almost bring those lighter, those circles in to match. A bit more on here, the green. It's almost tying them into the design so it all coordinates nicely. And we've not gone for, as I say, a lot of colours. And that green, I think, is just enough. And the sparkle, you'll see, isn't it a big in-your-face sparkle? It's probably hard, it probably doesn't show up, but it is just a nice hint of. I always say it's like adult glitter. Oh, did you shout? I missed one there. I missed any more? Do tell me, won't you? Right, so to colour, we're going to go for two colours. We've got the Kitsch Flamingo, and again, you know me, just put them on my mat, and the picked raspberry. And then get my water brush and a piece of kitchen roll. And a little tip, I always start furthest away, because if you start here, you might just put your hand in it. Although that could just be me. Now, my Kitsch Flamingo is the lighter pink, so I'm almost going to do a wash. Now, again, when you're doing this, you can spend time and really enjoy it, but I tend to just get the colour on there. That's not to say I'm not enjoying it, but especially with the first colour, I tend to think it's a bit like a wash, and you're just going to cover as much of the area and make it quite watery. And always remember, if you get water on your brush, just dab that off. So we'll just... I love doing things like this at workshops because it's amazing when you look around the room how many crafters are there with the tongs sticking out, because it's amazing when we do colouring, we do tend to do that. And I'm not going to colour these because, as I say, they're going to be decoupaged. Now I'm going to go in, mix a little bit of my darker colour now. And while it's still wet, just almost blend a little bit at the base here where it will be darker. And that'll just give a nice bit. Look at that. Just draws your eye in. And because you're almost doing it wet on wet, it blends in itself. You don't have to do the blending. And we'll have a little bit on there. Now, if you were worried and thought the lines were a bit harsh, what I tend to do is here, where my ink pads are next to each other, I mix a bit of both colours. So I've got my lighter pink and my darker pink. And then just over this join, I would add a little bit of that ink. And because the ink's got both colours in, it's a bit like when we're blending our inks. We always go over the join, don't we? So if I just, and again, it's quite quick, look. And again, I'm mindful I've got my kitchen towel on my piece so I don't get fingerprints on it. because again, we don't want fingerprints, do we? How many times have we done that? There we go. Now, just to bring that pink in, I'm going to go back to my darker pink, and I'm just going to add a few light little specks. Not too many, but just to tie it all in. And then I'm just going to mop this up. Obviously, just because I want a nice clean area to work. Now, what you would do is while you were doing your colouring, stamp this area again, but I didn't want to be sat colouring in and cutting out more to the point. So I've just got a little pair of nail scissors. These were actually from a chemist, to be honest, and they're my favourite ones. We all have favourite ones, don't we? And I've just cut out and just shaped my little pieces that I'm going to decoupage. But I think that's coming along so nicely. Now, when this area is dry, again, a couple little finishing tricks. What I would do is a couple of things. Right, I'm thinking, where's my pin flare? And what else do I need? Right, little paper clip up here, and I was very lucky. I went to a local stationery shop and they had these tiny little paper clips. And what it is, because I'm going to put my sentiment here, I like something about a diagonal, and also I love the way this, it almost finishes it off. So I'm going to add that, and I would add this before putting it on the card. Now again, you have choices here. I have seen where people glue the whole thing on. For me, I like to use it as an actual paper clip. So you can either have, obviously, the bigger side, or you could have the smaller side showing. So what do we think? On my original, I've done the larger side. So let's put the smaller side on this. And again, just slide it on. And again, I just wanted that line to follow there. So I like that. So let's glue our... Now, maybe I should just work out which is which, because that's the only thing with me. They're cutting them out earlier. Should have numbered them, shouldn't I? Oh, I think we'll be okay. I don't think they're too bad. Does that one? That one looks more like... Oh, she says. Right. That's definitely that one. Ah, that's that one. We could play this game at home, couldn't we? Do you reckon that's that one? Yes. And that's that one. There we go. And again, I'm just going to use my trusty pin flare, just so I can put a large amount in the middle and then just bring it out to the sides. So how are you doing? How are you feeling this week? How are things going? And I know so many of you have mentioned that you've gone back into lockdown again. I'm so sorry. It is so hard. But all I can say is please just hang on in there. And you know what? If gardening, crafting, jigsaws, whatever it is that just keeps your mind occupied, reading, you know, please, you know, just try and occupy your mind. And just hang on in there. We've got a family funeral on Thursday. So I'm not looking forward to that. I think it's worse in lockdown because we've seen so few people that a funeral is not the time when you actually want to see people. Because it's that double-edged sword, isn't it? It's nice catching up with family that you haven't seen for a couple of years, but it's such a sad occasion. So it's sort of, again, that sort of messes with my head. Right. Last one on. And again, I just want mine raised a little, not too much. And always remember, I know I always say this, but it's so important to have your pin flare up there. Otherwise, it'll go off in the tube. And you don't want that. Now, what's the other thing I've done is I've got this lovely gold Signo pen. And I just thought for some highlights, instead of using a white Posca pen, I thought I'd go and just add some highlights with this. And almost with it being gold, it almost looks sort of really, I just felt I needed something a bit bright. And what I love these black ink spots that Bipasha's put on. But I just want to put a bit of a highlight to them. And on some of the flowers, look, just add, not on all of them. I don't want it to look like I've just gone round all of them, but maybe on the odd stem. So if I bring that up, can you see just a little bit of those gold highlights shimmering? And again, they're not too much, they're not very in your face, but it's nice just to have a little bit of sparkle. Now for my sentiments, I've got this lovely Dymo machine, which, as you know, I just adore this labelling machine. Lots of labelling machines on the market. And I've just made myself, and I'm just going to put Joy on this one. And I think this area here cries out for the sentiment. And again, now a little tip for me, I find it easier to put my sentiment on my pokey tool and actually just check where I'm putting it. There, I think. And then just check it straight, pop it down. Nearly finished. Once I just wanted this to dry. You know I love my chalk pastel pencils. Well, just in the very centre, look, I just want to bring in a little bit of a deeper pink. Not too much, just a hint, just to give that depth. And again, because they are chalk pastel, I'm just giving them a bit of a smudge, and that will be enough to set them. And again, I'm just using my finger for that. You see how that little bit of depth, again, it just takes that design and makes it, I think, just that bit nicer. So, a little bit of shade now, and I'm going to use my Zig Clean colour. And as you remember, I'm just me being me. I like to put a little bit of shade just under. I know a lot of crafters go round, which is perfectly fine. I just have a thing in my head, my shade is always under my sentiment and to the right. But if you want to go all the way around and frame it, by all means. Because again, it's your design. You know, there's no right or wrong. But I'm just on my main image here. I'm just going to, again, underneath, under my flowers, and just under here. Just so I've got the shade. So my light's up here and I've got that shade underneath. Like I say, go all the way around if you wish. And that's the beauty of crafting, you know. You can just take ideas and put your own spin on it. And if you're happy with something, that's all that matters. And it's nice that we all do things differently. Because I think that's the thing. We're here to inspire and have fun and spend time with you. Not to sort of preach to you. Last little thing, some Posca splats. Now again, bit of a shake the ball bearing up. And I don't want a lot on here. I just want a few. A couple across there. And then I tend to turn mine round because if I aim over there, believe you me, it gets everything on the rest of my craft table. So I try to be a bit sort of focused. There we go. That's enough. Put him back in my pot. Whiz it round. And so that's it. Now, like I say, I think that was just a lovely, relaxing, simple design to make. And as I say, you could mix it up. And do you know what? I think these would make lovely notelets. How about doing it through the seasons? You could do 4, and you could do spring, summer, autumn, winter. I mean, the different colours you could use. I mean, I think this in autumn colours, oranges and browns. Winter, a hint of blue. Maybe turn these into berries for Christmas, red, and put your snow on. I just think that would be lovely. And you could make yourself, how nice to make a set of, say, notelets to send to somebody. And that would be a nice gift, wouldn't it? So I hope you enjoyed that. I'm going to bring the 2 in. I'm never sure if they're in the right place, sorry. There we go. So I hope you enjoyed that design. If you put your designs on Facebook, I'd love to see them. I'd love you to tag me in. It's always nice when we can share each other's ideas and designs. So you take care. I hope the rest of your week goes well and your weekend. I've got another online workshop this weekend, so I'm looking forward to that. We're exploring shaker cards. Now, they are so much fun to do. So if you've not done one recently, why don't you have a go at that as well? If you've got a spare 5 minutes, that would be nice. So you take care, everybody. Thanks as always for popping in, and thanks for your support. It really means so much to me. Love and hugs. Bye for now.